Welcome to Two Peas on a Pod. This is the podcast where we explore connection, friendship, and the relationships that shape who we are and who we're becoming. I'm Dr. Miriam Kermeyer. I'm a clinical psychologist, friendship expert, and global speaker on human connection and social support. Okay, today's friends are Jamison Lange and Alaire Thomas, two well-known creators who have co-created a fast friendship that is honestly spotlighting how connection has the power to boost our creativity and professional growth and shape cultural conversations about what it means to show up as your authentic self. You're going to love this episode, and as always, make sure that you stick around until the very end because I'll check back in with you with some friendly reminders and takeaways that you can bring into your own friendships. And with that, let's get into today's conversation. Today's guests are two creators whose friendship is proof that sometimes the people who change your life the most are the ones that you've known for the least amount of time. They are close friends, frequent collaborators, and you may know them as the faces behind the beloved online series, When You're Masc But Still a Lady. Jamison Lange is a content creator best known for his viral transition videos and content that challenges beauty standards while redefining masculinity for a new generation. Through a blend of humor, vulnerability, and creativity, he has built a devoted following across social media. And yes, you may be able to recognize his voice from that app, Quinn. If you know, you know. Alaire Thomas is a New York-based comedian, content creator, and podcaster, best known for her viral sketches that have the unique ability to turn life's most chaotic moments into comedic gold. It's no surprise that her unique comedic voice has resonated with millions of people online, and she is currently bringing that same humor to audiences nationwide on her stand-up tour. Anyway, thank you. And anyway, now it's time to thank them as Jamison and Alaire join us on today's episode to talk about fast friendships, content creation, and the difference between collaboration and connection. Jamison and Alaire, welcome to Two Peas on a Pod.
Thank you so much for having us. This is great.
Oh my gosh. Hello. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Now, we just met the two of you, but as always, I want to kick things off by hearing about how the two of you met. So tell us a little bit about your friendship origin story.
So Jamison and I think we became followers of each other first, but I had unintentionally posted a video where it's kind of an interesting actually start. I realized Jamison had a video. And I think I had recreated that video unknowingly. I think it was one of those things where I saw it, forgot about it, but it was in my subconscious. And so when I made it, I did not give him credit and that was not my intention. And then he just DM'd me very respectfully and he was like, hey, could you just tag me? And I was like, oh my God, of course I can. But I felt so bad. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I would do such a thing to this guy. And then I don't know if it was a year later or a few months later, he moves to New Jersey and my fiance actually reached out to him and was like, we should connect. And I was genuinely nervous because I was like, oh my gosh, what is he going to think of me? What if he's just saying yes to get revenge? And he's like, you stole my video. And I didn't mean to. So we basically got brunch and then we hit it off. And now I'm like, you're all right.
That there was no grand revenge plot, at least not yet.
No,
none that has revealed itself yet.
Nothing yet. Unless
I'm in it for the long play. It's a long play.
Well,
now
long play. I have trust issues, but
this is our goal here on Two Peas on a Pod, to create trust issues between friends.
Exactly.
Thank goodness.
This is it.
You're as a doctor, that's always my goal.
During that year where you'd had this initial interaction online and before you moved to the New York area, Jamison, had the two of you spoken? Were you connecting online or was there this long pause?
No. So after I had messaged Alaire, which, to clear my name, I wasn't ever upset. I was like, hey, is this I think that you did the same video as me. And I think, because my big thing is credit. And to be fair, also, now that I know Alaire, she's massive on giving credit. And I know the way that her brain works now because we create together all the time. But after I sent her that message, we hadn't spoke. That was kind of where it deadened. And she was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And she added the credit too. And she was like, I was like, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And then we kind of went on with our own lives. And I was just like a supporter and honestly a massive fan of hers from afar. And then her loving fiance found my page and followed me. And I was like, oh my God, I love Jordan so much. She's great. And I love her videos. Her videos are awesome too. And she was like, I love your videos. And I was like, oh my God, same. And then she was like, what are you doing Saturday? And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, you're going to come to brunch with us. And I was like, cool. And so I ended up at brunch with them. And they are the most lovely people in the world, mostly Jordan. And
I would like to end the podcast now. I take back every nice thing I've ever said about this man.
Maybe that was the extent of the revenge. We can
there
hope
we
so.
go.
Yeah.
There we go. But I met them for brunch, and it was instantly a great fit from there.
What do you remember from that brunch in terms of what that felt like, what was discussed, and how was that kind of the inflection point or the transition point in terms of we have connected online, albeit very briefly, and we are now in each other's lives? How did you go on to build a friendship from there?
I remember from that brunch, we were talking about work. Not everybody understands what it's like to be a content creator. And so when you get to meet other content creators, it's really nice to be able to kind of have that mutual understanding because obviously like there are people in your lives that get it, but never fully get it. You know, I think people have this notion of like what it is to be a content creator. There's so much more to it that not a lot of people talk about, but we were kind of bantering over that and talking about our experiences and how like we've transitioned or what we've learned. Because again, it's always nice to kind of like pick each other's brains and just like know. But from what I remember, it was still very much just like a free flowing conversation. You know, it was very much like there wasn't like so what's your favorite color? You know, it was very much just like we kind of jumped right into it. And I think we had very much I was going to say it's a very much like lesbian date, but that's not true because a lesbian date will be like a whole weekend. But we were sitting at brunch for I think like 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah. Also, if I may add, it felt very open. It felt like there was no judgment, which was really nice because a lot of times there was also no ego involved, which I think a lot of times when you meet creatives in the space, there are some times where you can get a sense that one party or another might feel like they're there only for the creative or the collaboration or the business side of things, right? But for me, and I think that I felt this the same way as them, we all went into it wanting friendship and not just work relationship. Like, I think that was the really cool thing. That's what felt really nice. That's also why I think we connected so well is because we're all just little human beings walking around the planet and we wanted somebody to feel like they understood us, right? And again, in the creative field, because it's really hard to find a lot of people that really do understand that style of work and the pros and also cons that come with it that you don't really get to talk about to other people or, you know, kind of air out and like get that weight off your shoulders, you know?
So thinking about that brunch date, that 3 to 4 hour brunch date, where going into it, you knew that you shared this background in common as content creators, and that was certainly part of what connected you during the conversation. I'm wondering, what is the difference in a conversation like that between a really nice brunch that ends up being, you know, a good meal and some good conversation and maybe some good tips, but feels a little bit more transactional of we're here and let's exchange this information. What separates that from the type of an experience that you had where it was clear that you were now going on to build a friendship? So it was much more about connection than the transactional nature of that interaction.
One thing was there was an equal transaction of questions about each person and not just about the industry, right? Like I think it was an equal opportunity or an equal effort for both parties to try and ask about life outside of work, which was huge.
Yeah. I think because I was thinking more about your question of like, what's the difference, you know, compared to somebody who maybe you're just networking and potentially might not see that person again, or you do, but it's not like they're going to become friends. And I don't know. I mean, it sounds so cliche to say like a vibe, but it kind of, I feel like, unfortunately, it is that to an extent. There's been times where, you know, you go and get coffee with someone and you can kind of just like tell that it's like, okay, this might not be a friendship. Or if it's a friendship, it might not be a close friendship. And to be fair, it's usually just like it's not like, you're asking these specific questions and they have to answer all of these questions in order to like get past the levels of friendship. For me, it's more so just an energy and a feeling, which again, I know is very out there, but I think for me personally with JMO, I call him JMO. I hope that's okay, JMO, because I'm going to call you JMO. But for JMO, it was just like more so a vibe. It was like, oh, I left it being like, oh, I would like to see this person again. And I think I told my fiance that I was like, we should hang out with him more, because sometimes you leave a conversation and it's like, they were nice. But it's more of a feeling. There's no like, I guess, one thing that for me makes too much of a difference, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It does make sense. And I think everyone listening can relate to that experience of there are people in our lives that we spend time with, and maybe we're happy to spend time with them, but there's something different about someone's energy or just the energy exchanged in those kinds of conversations that can separate more of a professional connection or a networking experience from a friendship. So thinking about vibes, it's interesting to think about first impressions, but what is your impression, your first impression or your lasting impression of each other's vibe? Like, what is it that you were picking up on in each other, or just again, in that energy exchange that you really appreciated and had that feeling of, I want more of that?
For me, it was I feel like we're just two like silly, goofy humans, like just traveling through the earth. I don't know, just trying to experience life and have fun. And that very much came through. Mm-hmm. Not only Alaire, but Alaire and Jordan together especially are just silly, goofy. And it's so much fun to be around that, like so much fun. And we also exchange that same energy too. Like that vibe has been there through and through, that nothing is too serious. And it's just about having fun and being creative, and also a massive pool of love.
Mm. Yeah. So what happened after that brunch? How did you build on this vibe? How did you go on to build this friendship and to have it built on top of this foundation of fun and meaningful exchanges?
I mean, we just kept hanging out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the first time we had hung out. What was the first time that we had hung out after that?
It was the handshake one, I think, wasn't it? We do a terrible job of not working when you see each other, but only because we enjoy it. Like we have great ideas, i.e. Alaire has great ideas, and I just kind of sell yourself to the seashore. Sorry. And
I take back my compliment.
Okay, thank you. And so we do these videos a lot of times when we see each other, but that's our also way of like getting to have community as well.
Yeah.
Right. And then outside of that too, like if we'll record or if we do a video, then I'll hang out at their house. Like the other night I was there and we watched the Knicks games for a little bit and we just hung out and we had the greatest time. And there's no, those friendships that feel like you have to like fill silence. Mm-hmm. You don't. Like we can just sit there and chill and relax and have the greatest time existing. And there's nothing awkward. Like there's never any awkward moments, which is so nice.
It's so nice. And it's so nice to have those people where you can move in and out of those spaces together, where when you are in that creative space where you're bantering or you're ideating or you're just creating, collaborating, that energy is flowing and that feels so good. And you can just as easily transition into those quieter moments and then back again. And it isn't that question of, okay, what am I going to say now to fill the silence? Or what am I going to say now to transition to a moment of a little bit more quietness or distance so that I can have a little bit of a moment to myself? So I love that. I'm also really excited about your friendship because a lot of the friends that we have had on so far have been, some have been lifelong friends, some have been high school friends, but this is a relatively new friendship. And this is a fast friendship in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And so I'm wondering if you can speak to that experience. Have either of you had friendships in the past that have moved so quickly? And when was it actually? Let's even back up. When was it that you actually met? This brunch that we're hearing about, when was that?
It was February 8th.
Yeah. Fast friendships. Yes and no. I'm trying to remember. I think I've had some fast friendships, but not in this way. I mean, there's been moments where we'll hang out like almost every day. Mm-hmm. And I know JMO is a guy who likes sometimes his privacy in his space, but we'll just like see each other for multiple times in a row. So I don't think I've had something like that. I think I've had something where it's like we've hung out quite frequently in like a quick span. But with JMO, I would say it's been probably the quickest
Same for me.
And we do. And we get along. And it's because we enjoy making content together, but we also enjoy the friendship that we have grown from it. And we also we've tried to set boundaries around like, okay, if we're going to make content for the 2 days we see each other, if we're going to make content on that third day, we're going to have like a friend date, do something that's not content worthy and work related, because it's very easy to get sucked into it because of course it's like on our phone, it revolves around everything. And sometimes we're very good at that boundary. Sometimes we're not good at that boundary, but we wanted to be able to set that so that both can grow, that like professional relationship and also like actual friendship.
Yeah.
So that both can exist at the same time.
Alaire, there's so much in what you just shared that is so helpful for us all to be thinking about in terms of there is this initial spark and this chemistry and the vibes, as you're saying, that definitely was the start of the friendship. But it sounds like there's so much that the two of you have done together to fast track a friendship, whether it was intentionally or not. I mean, we know that the amount of time that we spend with someone, I've said this before, is a predictor of friendship. And there's even some research that has quantified the number of hours that we need to spend with someone to actually build a friendship. And so, for example, if we're looking at how many hours it takes to build a best friendship, that's about 200 hours, which can sometimes be really difficult to fit into our busy lives. And so that to me is certainly a part of it, where you're spending days, right, hours together creating content. But I would imagine that too, the experience of co-creating, of collaborating, of being able to be creative together, that there's something about how you are spending your time together that also is relevant, because we have absolutely all had and have people in our lives that we have spent 200 hours with that we would not consider a friend, right? Or that there is no friend potential there or even on the horizon. And so it's something about what's going on in your conversations and in your exchanges. And I also love you bringing up this piece of the boundaries, where being really intentional about how we're spending our time. Yes, it feels so good to step into that space of being creative and collaborating together, but let's also be mindful to protect our time together as quote unquote just friends and not just co-creators. Jamison, anything that you would add to that in terms of what you see as being relevant to kind of the quickness and speed of your friendship?
Yeah, I think that one, there is a very healthy, open line of communication in this friendship too, especially when it comes to the creator aspect of it. Perfect example is even last night we went to an event together and we afterwards decided to film just a couple quick videos. But the first thing Alaire said was, "Are you in the mood to do this? Because if not, like we don't have to, right? There's no forceful like we need to do this now. It's like a hey, are you in the mood?" And that question alone opens and creates a space for me to be like, maybe I wasn't in the mood, but now, like yeah, like let's do it, because I don't feel the pressure to do that, right?
Yeah, I want to underline this and like draw circles around this and star this with as bright highlighters as I possibly can, because this is something that we can practice in all of our friendships, regardless of whether we're creating content with our friends. Hey, are you in the mood to have this conversation, this emotionally charged conversation? Hey, are you in the mood to meet up with other friends tonight? And we don't often practice that type of open communication. And so I think that that's so lovely to add that to the conversation about what works in your friendship, that openness.
Even outside of the creator aspect, I was at their place yesterday when we were watching the Knicks game, and they were like, "Do you want to play a game like Uno or whatever?" And I knew that I was trying to set a boundary for myself in my own life of I need to get better sleep. And so instead of me feeling the pressure to be like, "Yeah, I guess I'll play a game," and then it'll go into midnight, and then I'll go home and be home at 1:00, it was like maybe 10 o'clock. And I was like, "Actually, guys, I got to go home." And they're both like, "You do what you got to do. Like, go ahead." You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't change our night plans.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to not feel that pressure. And I think to piggyback off of all of those things, even though we work a lot when we see each other, I think relationships, friendships as adults are really hard work. We all know this. And it's hard to actually build good, genuine friendships as adults. And so even though we work a lot when we see each other, I think that is our intentional way of being in the same vicinity to continue to build that relationship, because most times we extend it past that and we hang out afterwards, right? Even if we don't, that's okay. But I think that's part of the intentional way for us to get in the same room and make time in our busy lives as adults to surround ourselves with good people and to build that friendship further. So yes, sometimes we have a hard time upholding that boundary because we are creatives and we want to create fun things and we love our audiences and we want to make sure that we deliver. And also we're creatives. If we have to give something out of our brain, we have to create it, right? To fulfill that want and that need. But that just helps us further that bond when we're together.
I have a few questions about the overlap between friendship and content creation. So we're talking a little bit about the value of that. We're talking a little bit about the boundaries that are involved in that. What is it like to be in a friendship with someone whose brain is always looking for material? And I ask that on so many levels. I'm curious about how you both stay present when you're with each other, how you both serve as inspiration or sounding board for each other, and how you encourage each other to sometimes take off the content creation hat and focus on just being you.
Well, for me, it's funny because I actually think that Jamison and I are very similar people. Like we think the same way. We have similar, we're driven in a similar way. We have similar goals. Like the way that we work and what we want for our lives are very, very similar, which is, for me, I've always said, because I have the same thing with my fiance, it's like a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because it's like that person knows exactly what you're going through and exactly what's going through your head. And because of that is able to, quote unquote, talk you off a ledge if necessary. And also, I'm saying it's a blessing and a curse because I know sometimes then we can feed into that with each other and kind of unfortunately heighten that for each other. And we're like, oh my God, I know. What if everything sucks and ruins and fails? So it's kind of twofold. I prefer it, preferring to be with somebody who's kind of, I guess, like-minded like me. I mean, it's definitely fun because I think it's very collaborative in terms of since we do the content creation, which is a very similar thing, we're able to feed off of each other. And from a creative standpoint, it's very much like a back and forth. And we're able to work on that together in ways that we can't necessarily do that with other people because, again, not everybody gets it.
Yeah.
But because we're very consumed in our work and also very driven people, we both then can get carried away, but then I think are both good at being like, hey, we need to have a moment. And that's, again, kind of going back to them being able to probably set the boundaries in that moment to really make sure that we aren't spiraling out too much in a negative way together, but able to still keep it a safe space. And so that we're able to kind of get things off of our chest that are necessary or collaborate or talk through things, but then also, come back to, I guess, a positive moment.
I think there's so much in there that we can pull from. And here's what's coming up for me as you're talking about that now and thinking back to something that you had said earlier about your first brunch, where you said something like, it was really nice and helpful to connect with another content creator, especially somebody that you actually have this genuine connection with because they get it, because they get a lot of the idiosyncrasies, a lot of the challenges, a lot of the unseen work, I imagine, that goes on there. And so I'm a little curious about this in terms of getting a little bit of a snapshot into that world. What are some of the experiences that both of you have had being a content creator where it just feels so nice to have a friend who gets that or who can offer a sounding board for that?
Ooh, a lot of times you feel guilt when you're with somebody that isn't a creative. For instance, we are on our phones a lot, okay? And so whenever Alaire and I are hanging out, if she has to get on her phone and do something and I'm still chatting away, I don't take it personally that she's not paying attention to me. I know that work is very important and we live in the same world. So my question, if I'm asking it at that time, will get answered, but I just have to have a little bit more patience because I asked that of her as well for me.
Do you find that translates to other friendships and relationships in your life with people who aren't content creators? Meaning, do you have more patience across the board for people being on their phones? Or is it also kind of the story that you have, rightfully so, about what that means and represents that's specific to Alaire and other friends who are content creators?
I think I have more patience for people to be on their phones. However, a lot of my friends that aren't in content creation aren't really on their phones as
Yeah.
much as I am. So I think inevitably it's just me asking for more forgiveness from them of having to be on my phone more often, because that is my work and that is how my bills are paid, and I think there are a lot more things underlying for that I don't necessarily need to be on my phone all the time or as often as I think I do, but we fall into that trap easily. And I think, to go back to the creative side of it for a second, it also is just deeply understood as a creative, being in a friendship with another creative, that if you have a moment where you think of something and say they want to shoot it right then, you have to, because that's when the best creative comes out of someone. Like if you have an idea and you're on the street and you want to film something, like let's say I have an idea and I'm like, oh, this would be a great thing to film right now, because a lot of times it won't be questions. It'll be like, okay, what do we need to do? Because the best creativity comes from the spur of the moment, right? And so there's that understanding of the spontaneity. How do you say that? Yeah. The spontaneity of content creation, being able to be so in the moment and people not being like, what's going on? Like there's just that understanding.
Yeah. I want to touch on that a little bit more, but one other question that's coming up for me now is, has being on your phones and using technology so much for your work, has that impacted how you use your phone and technology to connect with friends in a strictly platonic way? I'm not on my phone nearly as much as you are, but it still sometimes feels like so much. At the end of the day, I have very little energy to keep up with group chats, to keep up with my text messages or my inbox, because I've been on my phone so much. And so what is your relationship like with, technology and social media, even when it comes to friendships outside of the creator world?
I mean, you kind of touched on it there. I think for both of us, I know for me, my phone is very much like it's work. It's not pleasure. I don't really doom scroll anymore, or doom scroll in a way that's like truly mindless. It's always, there's something always in the back of my head, or it's like maybe you see a video and you're like, oh, that's so smart. Or like, I love how they did this, and you keep note of it and you keep track of it. And so for me, I think since we're all on our phones so much in certain things, I definitely, when it comes to friendships, I try to separate it as much as possible. So while I try to obviously text my friends, of course, I really value the friendship in like a physical aspect, if that makes sense. So, because that's when I'm able to put my phone away and hopefully, put it on do not disturb, or trying to be as present as possible, because it's just so much. Like there's always an email, there's always a text, there's always something to do. And I think because of that, there's maybe potentially been an aversion to, when it's not work related, then being on my phone. So I do what I need to with my friendships, of course, but then my goal is always to see my friends and really build the friendship outside of my phone, because, well, I also just want to do that in general. I think that's a good friendship.
Yeah. It sounds like that intentionality piece is really present in your friendship again in so many ways, in terms of how you're talking about things and what goes said and not left unsaid, in terms of stepping in and between the spaces of having fun and just being together and catching the Knicks game versus creating content, and in terms of how you're using your phone and really thinking of this as, this is something that is work related and now this is something where it's just for me. And I'm wondering more about that. How do you know, between the two of you, when a moment in your friendship is just for the two of you versus for social media or for your work? Or does it feel like everything is up for grabs?
I think there's the moments where we have the intentional friend dates of we'll go and have dinner. I think those are the moments that really feel like just for us, to make sure that we connect outside of that. I think there's a lot of things that blur lines for sure. That's just the nature of the work. But I think for the most part, there are distinctive moments, like the dinners that we get to have, or just hanging out at the apartment, or even sometimes after an event, just taking walks in the streets of New York and just chatting, are definitely for us and not for anything else, right? Just for us to really connect. And also, as content creators, again, being able to express the things that we don't really get to express to the other people in our lives, because unfortunately they just don't understand it. And that's not to say that that means it's hard or difficult or, impossible. It's just, if you haven't had that lived experience, it's really hard for you to understand what we're talking about.
Yeah. You get to have that part of your lived experience seen and shared. And there is this shorthand to the conversations that you can have about it. Yeah. I mean, so much of your friendship is shared and beloved, as we said before. What is something that people don't see about your friendship that might surprise them?
We fight all the time. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. I actually deeply hate her.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think, well, I don't know if this is surprising though, but I think I guess the silliness. The reason why I say that and not seen as well is because it only comes across so much on social media. But, we're like, sometimes I say it's like brotherly love or like, like the bickering, but like the silly bickering or the goofiness, the moments that, I guess just can't be expressed in a specific video because usually our videos are, to an extent planned and there's some sort of thing that is being heightened in that way. And so I think that's why I'm saying like our silliness and how we act with one another I don't think is always portrayed. I'm trying to think of, Jama, do you have anything that would be surprising? What would be surprising to people?
I think the only surprising thing, and maybe it wouldn't be a surprise, is that the way that we come across in our videos is who we are. It may even be more heightened when we're not on video. Like there are, like, to your point, they're very silly moments that are just naturally silly. Like we were in the subway the other day and I don't know why it came out of me. I did the most boyish thing in the world.
Oh my gosh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I just started shadow boxing her for no reason at all. And she's like, that was the most boy thing you've ever done, ever.
That was man.
And that was man. And then
you were man.
Yeah. And we get to laugh and giggle and, about those things because those things are who we are. And it's not just like okay, the camera's on, we've got to turn this on for the camera. Like it's very easy, very natural for us to do that because that's exactly how we are in real life, if not more, if I'm being honest.
Okay, I do know something that I guess would be more, I guess people would probably know, but would potentially be surprising is that we do have serious conversations a lot.
I was
not
just
like
about
serious,
to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to see it first. So,
fine.
Here's the bickering we were warned about. Yeah.
Yeah. I told you. But yeah, just having serious conversations or being able to, because again, we both struggle in our industry or in our life for things that are happening in our life. And so being able to be kind of like a sounding board off of that. And the fact that both of us have a very similar brain, it's like we're able to kind of just like talk through things. Like I personally know for me, and I think it's the same way for JMO, but I know for me, I'm the type of person where it's hard for me to come to a decision in my brain directly. So being able to talk to people and kind of talk things out allows me to process things. And so, I mean, there's multiple times where we've kind of had more serious conversations about work, about life, about certain specific things that are going on that I think, I guess, would be the more surprising aspect, just because that is not shown online, is that we actually can be very serious people. We're actually both very serious and more, I would think, logically thinking people than people, at least especially when it comes to our career, than people will think. I know for me, a lot of my stuff is silly and goofy online, but I think about a lot of things very critically. And I think that would be quite surprising for people because then obviously we talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. You are multidimensional people with a multidimensional friendship, right?
Yeah.
It's funny. You mentioned the shadow boxing and the boyishness of that. Let's have a serious talk about that for a second.
I still can't believe you did that. I'm going to be so honest.
I want to talk a little bit about some of the content that the two of you have created together. In particular, the series that you are now known for, When You're Masc But Still Lady. Can you tell us a little bit about this series?
It was kind of adapted from something I used to do because I had like POV or dating a masc lesbian. And the thing that's funny to play into is like, as a masculine presenting person, of course, people are like, they think it's dominant and, that like gym rat or like specific things. They're like, I'm going to carry everything and I'm the protector of the house. But for me, what's very funny is I'm like, I'm just a little lady. Like I love being able to play into that, like, I guess like unexpectedness of just being a little girly pop, like everybody else, what people don't expect. And so I personally would just play into that because I would find it funny. And I usually would have my fiance film me from like super high above. So I looked like 2 feet tall. And that was always super, super funny to me. And so it kind of was just an adaptation of that, of like, when there's a man present, I'm like, why do I do things when there's a man? Because of course, like, I think in life, it's like this expectation, or like when you think masc lesbian, it's like the gentleman-y thing of a relationship. The person who opens the door, who picks up things and stuff like that. And so it's kind of playing into that of like, but when there's a man, he does all of the work. And because I'm going to kick my feet up and allow him to do that. So I think for me, it was just kind of a funny juxtaposition, I guess, of like kind of leaning into a stereotype.
Yeah. And thinking a little bit about not only this series, but your experience in this friendship. I mean, something that you focus on is your different identities and how they interact and how they intersect. And it really is beautiful. There's a part of this that's about representation, of seeing different people, different friendships, different friendship dynamics being represented, being seen on screen. And I know that this is something that, I mean, you know, from social media to traditional media to the world of research, there really aren't that many friendship dynamics that are represented widely or with the nuance that we all want and the specificity that we all look for, where we can see ourselves and see our different friendships on screen, on our phones, being represented in research. What do you think that your friendship can teach other people about what it means to express platonic intimacy, vulnerability, and connection?
I think there's so many things that can be derived. I don't know that I would call myself a teacher, but derived from this friendship. And I think one of the big things, if I'm being honest, is this is going to come out sounding really wrong. And I guess I don't care. I'm going to say it anyways. I think a lot of the times men that look like me have often caused a lot of the trauma in the lives of people like Alaire, who are part of the LGBTQ community. And so being able to see that we are such good friends could hopefully be maybe a healing part for some people, of understanding that not all men suck. And there are people in the world, there are men in the world that just want people to be loved, heard, and respected, no matter who they love or what they identify as. And I'm hoping that that can restore some humanity and the ability to create those bonds between women and men as friends.
For me, like as a woman, I know I'm not a super feminine woman, but as a woman, JMO, stop looking. Stop looking at me like that. I will stop. I swear to God, don't look at me. I am very protective of the men I let into my space, especially, you know, being a woman and being a woman in today's age, not to say more than that, but you know, it's, unfortunately, you don't always feel safe or comfortable with the men that are around. Like, I don't personally always feel safe and comfortable with the men that are in my life. And so that's why for me, like I have guy friends, but I am very like protective of that space, you know, of who I let in that way, because I want them to not make me feel safe like it's their job, but it's like I want to feel safe around them. I want them to feel safe around my fiance, or I want my fiance to feel safe around them. And so JMO was somebody who allowed for that. He's very much in touch with his feminine side in a very beautiful way, in terms of like he's very comfortable in his masculinity, which allows him to, you know, be this kind of not soft, but like this very beautiful person, is not very much that like, bro, man, testosterone, you know, like he's not that. Like he has his moments, don't get me wrong. He has his moments where I'm like, I need you to walk away from me right now. But he passed the man test that I have, and has a very gentle soul and a very like just good person to be around. So the vibe is right there.
Ah, thanks.
What I'm wondering about in response to that is the word safety came up a few different times. And I'm wondering what the two of you have to say about like safety cues. Like, Jamison, what do you think it is that you were doing and continue to do that Alaire and other people pick up on as safe? And Alaire, maybe you are in the best position to comment on that too. But the bigger question that I have for you is, what do you pay attention to more broadly? What can help people feel safe and gauge that piece of it? Is this somebody that I can continue to open up to and be around?
Well, usually there is that whole, like, it's a little different in our case because, of course, it's like, you know, there's this whole conversation of like, can men and women really be friends, you know, without some sort of bigger intention? And JMO and I have actually even had that conversation, and obviously a little bit different because I am queer and in love with a wife, with my lady. But I think the point I'm trying to make there is, there is no, like, JMO is a very genuine person. There is no underlying want or need that is not being said, or like, what is it? Not negative intention. What's the thing? Like no, what's the word? I need someone to help me out with the word.
Malicious intent or alternative motives.
All great words that I thought of none of them.
You got us there.
Yeah, no malicious intent.
Yeah.
Like I never have to question him as a person. You know, I'm never like, because I think another thing too with that I've had experiences with men, especially when I was younger and maybe in like when I was more feminine and certain things like that is there's like the way that some men can treat women. It's very much like staged or like put on, if that makes sense, because maybe there is, you know, they're trying to either show their best self or maybe they treat women one way but then treat men another way. And I think with JMO, it's very much like he treats everybody equally, which you would think is should be a very basic thing of human nature, but apparently is not. But so yeah, I would say those are the two things, is like a genuineness. I'm never questioning, okay. I hope this comes across the way that I expect. My fiance is bisexual, is a beautiful woman. The thing that I've gotten with bisexuality is like, but you know, are you afraid that that she's going to want to go back with a man and stuff like that? And I'm like, first of all, weird question. I trust and love my fiance. But with JMO, you know, I feel super safe and comfortable to leave them together. I know JMO has no ill intent. I know nothing is going to happen there because I know he is a good guy, and he also, yeah, that's just not him. Where with other people who are maybe potentially more like that, like very stereotypical bro man testosterone who sees every woman in sight and there is an intention with it. I think I don't have that fear. So it's more so just a trust. He's a genuine guy. I never question who he is as a person. And he also just, I think for me, the bigger thing is like he treats everybody equally.
Yeah.
He's not treating men differently versus women. So for me, that's also just something that I appreciate.
Yeah, I love that piece of it too, because it's a helpful reminder for all of us that people are judging our character, or maybe a better word is kind of assessing our character, right? And monitoring our genuineness based on, yes, how we show up in that friendship, in that connection, but also with other people. Like so much information gets conveyed about who a person is by how they interact with other people in front of you, right? Like the classic example being you go out to brunch with a friend and how are they speaking to the staff in that restaurant? How are they speaking to people at other tables? There's a lot of information there that can get conveyed that we are interpreting. And so part of being an ally, part of being a friend, part of being a just genuine good person is, yes, considering the person in front of you, but also considering how you are treating others across the board. And I think that's such a powerful, helpful reminder. What has been the response to these videos online that you've received from people in your communities?
I think people just love our dynamic and love just like us making videos together. I think it's, you know, because it's not like we create individually. It's not like we create the exact content. He doesn't do as many skits. Like I'm very much a skit content creator, but being able to kind of like have that transition and like have something that lives on both of our pages where maybe also shows his sillier side. I mean, because you do a good job at that in your regular videos, but I think with the skits it allows to like enhance that a little bit. And I think people just like that. People just like him and what he's built, and I think people just like our friendship. And yeah, I mean, we've only had super positive responses, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, my favorite friendship too." And so that's been really fun to kind of just tap into.
Yeah.
To be fair, I think that we could take a video of us picking blades of grass and they'd be like, "Oh my God, they're in the same video." We are very, very, very lucky for the audiences that we both have. They're both so loving and so supportive and so wonderful. And so, yeah, on my side as well, it's only been positive.
People are rallying behind you and rallying behind your friendship. Yeah.
And they're waiting for the next video and the next video. And it's the greatest feeling.
How fun to feel like people are building community around your connection and around your friendship. Before we wrap up our time together, I have a few rapid fire questions for you. This is our snap peas speed round, okay? On all things friendship.
Oh, snap peas. I like that.
Let's get the energy going. I'm going to ask you a few rapid fire questions and feel free to just shout out your answers. Ready?
Okay.
Here we go. Friend date or group hang?
Friend date.
Okay. That was me saying friend date.
It was. Well. Okay. Just confirming. Post immediately or sit on it for a week?
Post immediately.
Okay. I need. Sorry, my rapid fireness is not happening. Post immediately.
Amazing. Who is more likely between the two of you to reply "haha" and never answer the actual question?
JMO.
Me.
Who's more likely to cancel plans?
JMO.
Me.
Okay. Consensus. Under eye patches or breathe right strips?
Oh, I hate you for this one. This sucks.
I only use I have to say under eye because I've never used a breathe right.
I have to say that too, even though breathe right is unbelievable, but under eye patches, they're my favorite thing in the world.
I have to try the breathe right.
Under eye patches are your most favorite thing in the world. Okay, so I mean, I obviously got a little tip off for this question, and the glee on my face when I found out that there were other people who were likewise passionate about breathe rights. I mean, this is
I cannot sleep without mine. How
could you? You would never wake up.
It's now another. Don't you hate those things? I know this is supposed to be speed round. Don't you hate those things that become as an adult another expense monthly that you're like, and now I have to pay $30 a month just to put something on my nose so I can breathe better? Great. Yeah. And so now it is.
Fantastic.
I can't sleep without it.
I love that. And under eye patches, I want your recommendations after we wrap this episode.
Yes.
Viral video or sold out live show?
Sold out live show.
That's a hard one for you, Alaire.
Maybe, sold out live show. Yeah, okay.
That sounds non-committal, but we'll go with it. Transition video or comedic skit?
Transition video.
Comedic skit.
Okay. Pride parade or pride party?
Pride
party, I think, yeah.
Who would survive longer without their phone?
Oh, Alaire. Alaire, for sure. I think so.
Okay. Oh, I guess me. I think.
Okay. Well, we don't have to put that one to the test just yet. What is one trend you are ready to retire forever?
Maybe some of the dancing ones. Yeah. I don't like the ones that are like the silly goofy, like the I don't know.
You're gonna love this next question. If you had to choreograph a TikTok dance together, what song would you choose?
Milkshakes. That was the first thing.
Beauty and a Beat by Justin Bieber.
Not word.
If your friendship had a warning label, what would it say?
One brain cell.
That is great. I'm going with that.
Okay. And if you could choose someone to narrate the biopic about your friendship, what iconic voice would you choose?
Morgan Freeman.
I was going to say Morgan.
That's clearly the right answer.
Because I think it would be funny in his deep voice. And it's like, and the silly one.
Amazing. And to wrap things up, since it's Pride Month, I would be remiss not to ask this last question. What have you witnessed in each other's growth over the last few months that you have become friends that makes you the most proud?
Oh.
It's how creative and persistent Alaire is through so many things that happen behind the scenes, just with work in general. I think there's a lot of things that can bring anxiety or stress, and continuing to show up every day and put your best foot forward and show up as you are and not let it dilute the human being that you are or water down the version of yourself so that you bring your best to the community that loves you so much. I think I'm incredibly proud of you for being as persistent as you are and as creative as you are day over day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to say choosing yourself just because I know that you, and we were talking about this yesterday, you have sometimes difficulty people pleasing or like not people. Not saying no to people, but I think recently you have been trying to be better of like setting a boundary for yourself, like the whole like leaving at 10:30 at our place. Like I know past you probably would not have done that, or if you're like unable to respond back, like you've just been, I think, a little bit better about choosing yourself, and even if it's a difficult decision, making the decision because you know that your sanity will be better for it.
Yeah, thank you.
Beautiful. And before we end off, I'd love for the two of you to describe your friendship in one word on the count of three. Great. 1, 2, 3, go.
Dysfunctional.
Okay. Well,
dysfunctional. And what did we get from you, Alaire?
Partners in crime.
Partners in crime. Dysfunctional partners in crime. What a friendship story to behold. And look, we're being a little facetious here because honestly, this was an amazing conversation. Jamison Alaire, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your friendship story. And I think it's so obvious, the love and the care that you have for each other and the thoughtfulness that you put into not only our conversation today, but into your friendship, and all of the credit that is being exchanged between the two of you in terms of what you appreciate in the other, what you see in the other, and how you have made this friendship work and work so quickly. So thank you so much again for being our 2Ps on our pod today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Okay, for a friendship that began because of a lack of credit, I actually love how much credit Jamison and Alaire gave each other throughout today's conversation. And it was obvious also that that credit is exchanged in their friendship day to day, because you could hear it come through in terms of acknowledging each other's creativity and creative process, sharing what they appreciated about one another, expressing the growth that they notice in each other, and also credit in terms of the safety piece and how comfortable they both felt being their authentic selves around each other from the beginning. And that allyship piece absolutely deserves to be called out directly. What's also really interesting, though, is when they talked about their initial meeting and what led to this fast friendship, they used the word vibes and noted that it was kind of difficult to put that into words or to describe that with specificity. And yet, there was actually a lot of specificity that they went on to describe, a lot of which I would bet contributed to them building such a close friendship so quickly. So first of all, obviously the amount of time that they put into their friendship, the amount of time that they spent together, and their willingness to prioritize each other and make sure that they spent enough time together to, yes, both create content, but also to simply be around each other. And that intentionality piece also came through in terms of there was this shared mindfulness or noticing of how much time they are devoting to working as collaborators and co-creators, and how much time they're spending doing things just the two of them, things that are just for the two of them, having experiences, having walks, having dinners that they don't share online or even invite other people to. And in addition to the time and the intentionality piece in terms of how they are spending their time, what was also clear was the way that they prioritized and emphasized open communication about the different boundaries that they're working to set and how they can let each other know that they respect those boundaries and the need for those boundaries. And so here is your friendly reminder. If you are looking to co-create a friendship or to deepen a connection that you already have, you don't just want to check on your friends. You want to check in with them to make sure that you are prioritizing and seizing those regular chances to have discussions to help you understand that you are both clear on what type of a hang you're looking for, of what mood you are actually in, of what the vibes are. And so that question of, are you in the mood for this, was something that Jamison and Alaire called out very clearly. And this really is a key takeaway and a key practice, because we can use this in all of our friendships. Are you in the mood for a one-on-one hang? Are you in the mood for a group hang? Are you in the mood for a cozy night in, or do you want to go out? Do you want to chat, or do you want to be silent? This is so small, and yet it is so important, because those types of exchanges, that type of curiosity, it's actually at the heart of greater relationship satisfaction and also of more balanced friendships, because you're able to understand what the other person actually needs and then work to create that type of balance or harmony over time. And this is just a bit of a side note. If you and your friend are super similar, like Jamison and Alaire said that they were, this practice, this mood checking, is actually even more important, because the more similar that we are, the more likely we are to what's called overgeneralize and assume that our friend sees everything the way that we do. And our friends won't always be exactly like us. And those differences need to not only be seen and heard, but respected and even celebrated. And that, my friends, is today's episode. So thank you so much for joining me. As always, let this be a really powerful reminder that your next best friend might actually just be a few months away. And it is never too late to make a new friend. And it isn't always long before you feel that incredibly meaningful closeness and support that we are all looking for and in need of. And with that, I will say that I will see you soon. I will see you back here next week for another episode of Two Peas on a Pod Office Hours. And in the meantime, let's make sure that we stay connected. So follow the show on your favorite podcast platform. Connect with me at the Two Peas on a Pod and at Miriam Kermeyer across social channels. And of course, make sure that you share today's episode with a friend or somebody that you would just love to grab brunch with. Until our next catch up, take care of yourself and the people in your pod. I will see you back here next week. Two Peas on a Pod is hosted by Dr. Miriam Kermeyer. Executive produced by Zoe Travis, Matthew Hoffman, Katya Kaminsky, and Dr. Miriam Kermeyer. Produced and edited by Podcast Nation. Producers, Madison Britt and Alicia Paneer. Audio engineer, Miles Carter. Original music by Sarah Walk, created by Zoe Travis and Matthew Hoffman. Two Peas on a Pod is recorded in Montreal and Los Angeles. Today's program contains information that is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This program is not a substitute for psychological or medical advice. Please seek out your own support and research as needed. Take care, friends.